Yep, they're in the mess one.
I got another bomber squirrel. Where you is?
I don't know. There's some people at C just sitting still.
Yeah, I see that. Yes. There's a tank of B. There's a tank of B just.
What is going on, guys? Craig1287 here, bringing you some Battlefield 4 gameplay. Going on there in the background is going to be some randomly assorted footage of some MBT or main battle tank gameplay. And this video going to be talking about, well, the MBTs, what to use and weapon-wise and just general loadout-wise, and what's the best way to go about an assault. Now look at this. I just peeked over. I had already started shooting at an APC, and there were two other tanks. And I've got my buddy here, but he is in an APC. If you look there on the minimap, you can see his vehicle type. He's in an APC, so he's not going to be able to do too much to these guys, and he doesn't have the greatest angle. So most of this work is being done by me right here. We already take out one, and then that guy had already bailed. I already hit him hard enough, and we take out the other. I only got down to 60 some odd percent health left. It wouldn't really hurt all that bad. So I've gotten pretty darn good at being a tank driver. Now, you just saw that I pretty much sniped that guy with this thing. Now, how am I doing all this? How am I being so effective against this armor? How am I being so effective against infantry? And, well, basically, I am rocking out the MBT with the Sabo round, or Sabot, or Sabo, however you feel comfortable pronouncing it, but the Sabo round for my main weapon. My secondary, I used to be using the heavy machine gun because it was a good anti-infantry type of weapon, as well as somewhat being able to hold its own against some of the choppers in the game. But once I unlocked the staff, I started using that, and it is just dandy. It's not that great against infantry, but it is amazing against land. This includes boats, but as well as any of the wheel-based and track-based vehicles, so anything on the ground. Now, and I did that again. You know, I lost my real big effectiveness against infantry, but the Sabo kind of makes up for that, and we'll get into it because it doesn't seem like the Sabo would be good against infantry at first, and in a way it still kind of isn't. For optics, I'm using the Zoom, because these things that I'm using are effective, so effective at taking out vehicles from afar, and even infantry, as you saw, and will continue to see in this video. I am really good. Look at the, I mean, right here, they're shooting at these tanks on this bridge. These guys are real far off, and it's just really, really effective setup against all sorts of opponents that you are going to encounter. I even waste a shot on that banner, and because I'm using two guns that affect the tanks, I never really run out of ammo. There's never really an ammo shortage against these tanks. And now, for the next little bit, you're going to be seeing some anti-infantry. Obviously, this not using a gun, but just gotta love running over snipers. But yeah, and you'll see the effectiveness of this Sabo round against infantry. Just sniping these guys first shot, just not really even have to gauge the range on it and things like that. So so let's get back into it. Yeah, optics, zoom, case in point, as what you've been seeing, there's a lot of effectiveness at range. Now for the upgrades, I am going to be using, for maintenance, I'm going to be using the active protection. Now here is the description that SimThick, a lot of these stats are going to be coming from SimThick. Great site. They recently updated their site with all the vehicle data. So, and this is the description for active protection. Nearly all incoming projectiles are eliminated for the duration of AP's activation. On the other hand, it will not break locks, provides no visual cover, and has the longest exposure time. So that negative there at the end, longest exposure time, what does that mean? Well, that means it's the longest time that it might not be up, protecting you. In terms of the other two things that are going to be, you know, detaining shots, coming at you. IR smoke and the smoke screen, they're 7.5 and 7 seconds. Active protection only lasts for 5 seconds. So in terms of once you trigger it, it doesn't last the longest. And then look at the reload times. It has 25 seconds versus 17.5 and 5 for the IR smoke and smoke screen. So it's dangerous in that regard, but I feel that it is still the best. It's the trickiest. You have to be careful with the timing. A lot of times if you time it before the shot hits, but if you didn't trigger it soon enough, the shots are still going to hit. That's why it says nearly all incoming projectiles. But the thing is it will protect you against like APC shots and dumbfire tank shots, RPG shots. Those other two, they just kind of break the locks of lock-ons and things like that. So this will protect you against all sorts of things. Noob tubes. I think it's even protected me against the XM25 airburst. It seems like it was. It's tough to tell because that thing typically bursts before hitting its target. But it seems like it was actually preventing the damage. So this thing is so good against all types, and it is causing them to waste their ammo. There's that chance that they are going to shoot at you with their last 2 shots while this thing is up, and now they have no more shots. So it's a really, really great way to just, in a fight, you're going to be getting shot, just trigger it, and the next few shots are not going to hit you for much. It'll even protect against jets shooting missiles and stuff down at you. So it's a really great tool to keep yourself alive for a very lengthy time. Now let's get right back into the actual guns themselves that the tank is going to be using. Now here is a little chart showing the stats for the 120mm AP, the default round, the Sabo round, and the heat round. Now in the game it does say HE, but it is in fact a heat round, which is high explosive anti-tank. So this thing is actually, it deals the most damage. If you look there, down below I've put boxes around the things that I believe are the most important, and you'll see MBT front, side, rear. That's if you hit it perfectly, 90-degree shots. If you hit it in the front, it deals 29, side it'll deal 42, and rear it does 66. So it's doing the most. So Craig, why are you not using the heat? Well, look up at the velocity. The Sabo round has the highest velocity by a fairly significant amount over the heat round. The heat round travels really slow. That makes it very difficult to hit long off targets and fast moving targets, as well as small targets. So long off targets, some of those tanks that I was engaging at long rounds, I wouldn't have been able to take them out as effectively unless I was just really, really good at leading my targets and judging the the right amount to aim up because of the projectile drop. But also at those ranges, changes that your target makes in their movement speed and movement path, it doesn't matter. You could be the greatest person in leading, but the second you shoot, if they change their speed or direction, that shot might miss. And so for trying to hit infantry, heat, it's going to deal a lot of damage, and it's got a little bit more splash than the Sabo, not as much as the AP round. But still, they're really, really small targets. The likelihood of you hitting them, you want something that travels really, really fast and doesn't drop a lot, because if you're predicting your enemy's movement decently enough, if you see them, doing the bunny hop maneuver, trying to reduce the ability for you to hit them, if you know they're gonna jump again and in that direction, they can't change flight mid jump, so you just know what to do. It makes it, see right here, trying to hit that helicopter, I didn't know he was going to be able to take that turn as fast, so I led him too much, but then once he started coming towards me, then it was just easy pickings. And that was just unfortunate that I didn't get to pick up that second helicopter. But so you want something that travels fast. That is where I make up for by giving up the heavy machine gun. And just look at this. Just sniping that guy at this range. That is incredible to hit that small a target at that range. So, I give up my infantry effectiveness by giving up the heavy machine gun. But by using the Sabo rather than the other two choices, the AP and the heat, I gain a little bit of infantry effectiveness. Now again, it takes a lot of skill to be able to lead targets and a lot of luck, I'll admit. But the Sabo, I definitely have taken out more infantry with the Sabo than I have the AP while I was using that. I have not used the heat as much, but I really don't think that I will want to. I mean, this Sabo is just so good at infantry, it's so good against air, and it's so good against tanks when you combine it with the staff thing, which we'll get to in just a little bit. So, back to these stats. Again, and just one thing, reload time on the heat is at 4 seconds versus the 3 for the others. So again, you know, it's just that another little thing that makes that heat. Yeah, it's got that great damage, but it just kind of sucks in every other category where I think it counts. And then also looking here, you'll see that the heat is the only one able to take out attack choppers and scout choppers in one hit if they're at full health. It's the only one that does 100 to those, but typically if you're hitting them for 91, you're going to disable them. It's going to make it real easy to follow up for another shot. They'll probably bail out anyways, and you can just pick them up then. So it's not the biggest thing that you give up, but the likelihood of hitting air with something that travels so slow and drops so much, again, probably not going to be the easiest thing to do. And finally, looking at the staff shell, you'll see here it shows some of the speeds for it, and it travels fairly quick. The biggest gain of the staff shot is it doesn't drop. This thing, even at some of the furthest shots, I mean, you got to lead the target in terms of the direction that they are going, but you do not really need to account for bullet drop at all. And when using the Sabo, that really helps. The amount that you're having to, you know, aim up, then aim down, then aim up, then aim down when you're switching between your shots is not going to be as drastic as if you're using the AP, and definitely not if you're using the heat, which can just help you to, you know, keep those follow-up shots. You're not going to be missing as often because you're not having to make as drastic changes. And so, again, you know, staff in conjunction with the Sabo, just such a solid combination. You know, you're not going to be one shot in air with the staff, but... Oh, and I should note that the staff does not attract to air. Again, I want to emphasize that it doesn't attract to air. I said that earlier. It'll only attract to land. So yeah, there you guys have it. That is what I've been rocking out for my tanks. Again, I'm not a professional tank guy. It's not anywhere near the top percentages worldwide or nationwide or even probably in my state, but you've seen this footage. I've gotten pretty good. There's some scores for my previous rounds. These were all 3 in the same night, so I've gotten pretty darn good at this setup, and it's working for me in these big 64-man battles. I hope this guide has helped you out. Have a good one. Ta-ta.